Technology is moving so fast, and if you want to move fast with the technology and stay up to date, you always have to invest in yourselves. There were so many times I would get into a room and I would be the only female. So, data science was definitely a new field back in those days. And I had put all of this effort just for one college, which was...
A simple girl from Delhi with big dreams who has made a big mark in the artificial intelligence industry in the UK. My friends, today I will be interviewing my friend Malika who is a BSc in statistics from Delhi University. After that, she went on to do her master's from London School of Economics. She did a master's in data science. And after that, she has also worked in KPMG, Microsoft, and now Google. She was awarded one of the most influential women in tech in the UK in the year 2020. Please welcome my friend Malika. Hi Malika, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Meher, here. It's so incredible to interact with your audience and be part of the MSP Vision platform.
Yay! I'm so excited for our conversation.
Thank you.
I am so excited for this conversation because Malika is one of the few women that I know who are doing so well in tech. And I am so inspired by your journey, Malika. And I'm so happy that you could take out the time and share what is going on in the artificial intelligence, data science world, because so many of us don't really know what data scientists do or what someone who is an AI specialist does. So let's begin right from the very start of your career journey, which was actually probably in school. If you could tell us a little bit about your school life and how you eventually went on to pursue the path that you're on now.
Perfect. So my schooling happened in Delhi. So my dad and my 3 generations before my father were all in the army. So there was a lot of discipline in my house. And I went to a school called Loreto Convent because, again, discipline. So my mother was very strict that she has to go to a convent school. So I went to Loreto. In fact, I studied in Loreto till the 12th standard. So I've pretty much stayed in Loreto all my life. And I think growing up, being in a cantonment area, which is like this little bubble outside, the civil life, there was a lot of, you pretty much stay in a bubble. So everyone who stay in this cantonment area, for people who don't know army life, all their parents are in the army. So everyone's kind of like similar background. And growing up, I had a sibling. So my elder brother, who's now in civil services. So he's doing really well as well. I was just a normal student. Like I was just like a regular person, like everybody else, going to school, coming back home, had to go through all the tuitions. Like I think one of the things my mother did really well was she really planned my entire day. So, I had a lot of tuitions, classes, extracurricular activities. Like I had a very busy schedule, which I think reflecting back now has really helped me because it helps me plan my schedule. It's always like, what's next? So you're going for your piano classes, now you're going for your maths tuitions, you're going for this and that. I think kind of helps you build that schedule. And I think as a child, I was very mediocre in my studies in terms of like, I was not the brightest student in my class till 8th. But I think after 8th, I became very serious. And I think that turning point happened from within, because I think I think where you are and where you want to be, there is, you always kind of like thinking, how do I get to that next level? And I knew that it had to happen through working hard and had to happen through discipline. So I really started focusing on my studies and really started taking interest. So subjects like mathematics that I absolutely hated, that I absolutely didn't want to study, when I started understanding it, spending time in it, it's like a rule that if you don't like something, but if you spend 2,000 hours working on it, you start enjoying it. And I remember after my 8th class, a subject like maths where I almost failed, and I started getting all the help I needed through tuitions, getting the best teachers. I loved that subject. And actually that's what inspired me to later pursue that subject and really kind of build my skill in it. I think post 8th, I focused extensively on maths and science. I got almost a perfect CGP in 10th class. So I'm not sure what it happens now, but back in those days, we were actually the first batch that didn't really have a percentage.
Yeah,
we had the CGPA and had an almost perfect CGPA in 10th class, got good scores, got great results, and I think followed the natural path of taking science. So post 10th, I did my physics, chemistry, maths, and economics. Okay. I have to be honest, I think economics was not a subject that I knew much about, because before 10th, we didn't really have that as a subject.
Yeah.
But the reason I took economics was because I didn't want to take bio, because I know the PCMB combination would have been really tough. You're kind of like going through different paths, right? So PCMB is, you can either pursue engineering, but you can also pursue a doctorate medicine, after that. Whereas I was sure I didn't want to do bio, and I was pretty much very clear that I want to do something within the engineering space, which is why I kept PCME. So yeah, I pursued PCME post 10th, worked really hard, forgot everything about, anything that had to kind of like derail me or like get me off track from education. I think 11th and 12th was just focusing on my boards. I used to work 14 to 15 hours of studies every single day. I pretty much took my brother's IIT preparation schedule, matched it to mine, and made sure that I had to really crack this. So yeah, I got all the help, and I kind of always go back to got all the help, because the reason why that's really important is I'm sure someone's followed this path. I'm sure someone who's got great scores in like 12th class. Why not get all that help so you can learn from them, right? I think that's very, very key, because figuring it out yourself is great, but if you can learn from other people's experiences, that was really key. So in my 11th and 12th, I spoke to a lot of people, a lot of my friends, in fact, my brother's classmates who were like first rank holders in CBSE. I made sure I spoke to everyone, because I could learn from them, understand, okay, how do you actually prepare for this? My role and my kind of goal in my 11th and 12th was to get a good score, so I could get into, a good Delhi University college. Like, I knew I couldn't do IIT.
So you always had that focus of Delhi University.
Yeah, I think the reason for that was because I had seen my brother get into an IIT, and I had seen my friends and a lot of people around me. I think engineering was great, and it's a great path to follow, but I think for me it was more around exploring other paths that was similar to the discipline of engineering, but still was different. And I think back in those days, terms like data science and AI was just noise at the background.
It
like
was
no
just
one,
starting, right?
yeah, no one knew much about this. So, but what I knew about data science back then, when I was in 11th class, was you just need to be good in maths. Like there's so much you can do in this space, and there's so many paths that are coming in. So I also feel that I was a little bit more realistic, because I had seen how an IIT preparation happens. And I think back then I felt maybe it's not something I could crack. So I didn't focus on that extensively. And I was like, maybe the path of doing a BSc or pursuing a course in Delhi University could be a good launch pad for me.
Nice. So you had that focus that I could get into data science as early as 11th grade.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But if you would have asked me what data science is back then, I probably would not know. All I knew back then was there are different disciplines coming in, and all you have to do is like be good in mathematics and like science, etc., to pursue a career. What I also want to say is, sometimes, and I've seen majority of the people who pursue PCME or any of these kind of like combinations, they pretty much go ahead in life and do something completely different. But I think what PCME taught me, or any of these combinations taught me, was how to sit and hustle. Because physics, chemistry, maths, economics, or bio, you have to really dedicate time to, understand every concept. You're expected to put at least 7 to 8 hours every single day to like prepare. And I think just that rhythm of sitting and learning and absorbing was what actually those 2 years taught me. It might have not taught me, all the physics that I learned. I don't remember any of that now, but it gave me the kind of experience to build that discipline and build that muscle to sit and work. And I think that's what majority of the engineers and people who followed that path have taken in. And I'm similar for commerce, right? Like, I know commerce, you have to get like 100% to get into any college in DU.
Yeah.
But what that teaches you is to sit and work hard. I think that's quite key.
Okay, that's great. And I loved one part of your story which you shared, is that you spoke to a lot of people and you created awareness for yourself. And I think a lot of people don't do that because they, like you said, think that, no, I'll figure it out on my own. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to people who may be older, more experienced than you, and they could become your mentors in a way. Luckily, you had an elder brother, but so many people don't have, siblings or elder siblings. So I guess that's one learning from your
and I think the other thing is that all of us have a dream and all of us want to do something, whether it's like starting your own company or, be a lawyer. And while you want to protect that dream, it's important to share that dream. And the reason that's important is because I'm sure you'll know someone who's done something similar and they'll be like, oh, you know what? I researched about this and this is how you go about it. Or I know someone who's done this. Why don't I connect you with that? So while you want to protect your dream, share your dreams with people you can trust, because I'm sure they'll find or they'll share experiences or they'll know someone. I think just providing that path for you will be key, because that'll just be another case study for you to follow. So I think, talking about what you want to achieve with people around you, your family, can be really useful. And I think that's just not something limited to you preparing for your boards, but even later in your life.
How nice. That's such a good tip, Malika. Thank you. So you got into the hustle mode in 11th and 12th, and then came the board exams and then the application for DU, etc. Let's talk a little bit about that. How was your experience going through the boards and then applying to DU?
I think boards was a lot of pressure, because everyone who doesn't remember you, especially your relatives, who not called you, will call you on the day that your exam result is coming. So that's definitely a bit of a nightmare. But I did really well. Like my all-up CGPA, my all-up percentage was around 94%.
Wow.
And my best 4 was around 95.6 or something like that, which was quite decent back in those days. Now
it's very good.
When I tell someone, they're like, well, you didn't get 100, and that's a different kind of like,
that's crazy.
That's crazy right now. But I think back in in the subjects that I had for science stream, that was a decent score. So I knew that I'm gonna definitely get some great college. So I had a list of colleges that were like top priority for me. So I knew that this percentage I've got would be good enough to get into at least the top 3 that I had decided.
Amazing. And did you always know that it was going to be a bachelor's in statistics, or were you still unsure after you got your result? What was going through your mind at that time?
I think I knew that I wanted to do statistics because I knew it's a discipline of mathematics, which I really enjoyed. And I went through all the courses that are popular in Delhi University. So there was BCom, which is for commerce. And in the science stream, statistics was something that was really well recognized. And there are some great colleges in Delhi University that offer that. And I also knew that the placements for statistics were really strong. Like you can pursue actuarial science after that, which was like a big hot professional career to pursue back in my days. So I was very clear that I want to do something in statistics, and it wasn't something that every college provided, but there were like top 3 colleges that were providing that. So in Delhi University, Hindu was one in North Campus, then there was LSR. LSR is considered South Campus, right? Yeah, so South Campus, and then we had Sri Venkateshwara College in South Campus as well. These were like the top 3 colleges in Delhi University that offered statistics.
Amazing. And you never thought of bachelor's in maths, because that's also another option, right?
Yeah, so bachelor's in maths was very similar to statistics. The kind of feedback I got from maths was that they really got into the theoretical aspects of mathematics, which was not something I was really excited about. Like I wasn't excited to understand why is LHS equal to RHS. I was more interested in how can I prove LHS is equal to RHS.
Oh, nice.
So I really was more interested in the applications, which is what statistics offered, whereas mathematics really got into the theoretical aspects of it. Whereas I think now things have changed, because now they're like introducing coding in mathematics. They're introducing Python courses in statistics as well. So those were the things that weren't really there when we were there, but they kind of like expanding all of these different disciplines into adopting more practical applications, things that we really require once you finish your college and you want to get into or launch into like your jobs, the kind of skills you need. That's what they're applying in Delhi University now.
Lovely. That's really good that they're keeping up with the times. Amazing. So then you chose Sri Venkateswara College, and that's where you went. And how was your experience at South Campus, Delhi University?
100%. I think while I want to give you a very promising answer why I actually considered Venkateswara, there isn't one. So I'll be very honest. I didn't want to travel to North Campus. So I stay in Chanakyapuri, which is in South Delhi. And North Campus was really far. And my dad was always away because he was in the army. So it was just me and my mother, and the whole kind of like experiencing of sending your daughter so far was like very frightening for her. I did that for a day and I knew I couldn't do it. The second option was LSR, and I was in an all-girls school all my life.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things that I definitely didn't want to do was to go into another all-girls college, which was another cross. So the last option was Venkateswara, which was 5 minutes away from my house.
Yes, very near Chanakyapuri.
Which has its pros and cons, because your mother can show up anytime, which is not always good when you want.
Which is what she did.
Which is what she did when I didn't show up. So it's not the best thing, but it was still very convenient. And I think my experience at Venkateswara was very unique, because I think I met people from different parts of India, people that I would have never interacted with. Like people had come from, Jaipur, from Indore, and like from South India, and everyone had done so well in their boards. Everyone had a different story, the way, their families were, the kind of like childhood they had, and kind of getting everyone together from different parts of society in your classroom was definitely a very holistic experience for me. So when I pursued my bachelor's in statistics in Sri Venkateswara College, I think it was a combination of theoretical and practical classes as well. So we were taught C++, which back then was an important coding language to know. We had a lot of theoretical classes for statistics, which was really great. I think overall the experience was really good. If I look back, I think I wish we had more practical courses in our class, because it was like 75% were theoretical, 25% were labs. But because majority of our class students got into either a course in data science, or they started as a data analyst after that, I wish it had more practical courses and more focus into coding or data science or data analytics, like the kind of skills you need when you want to launch your career. But it definitely gave me a good foundation for statistics, which really helped me in my master's. So it gave me a strong foundation in statistics and different concepts, which was really good as I thought about pursuing my career in master's in data science.
Fair enough. So you said the theoretical knowledge that you gained was really good, but the practical element was a little bit disappointing, which is fine, and that's what probably made you realize that you want to do a master's, right? So let's talk about your master's from London School of Economics. Did you go immediately after graduation? Did you work for a little bit? What was going on at that time?
So statistics honors in Delhi University was a 3-year course.
Yeah.
And so I did that between 2013 till 2016. And in 2015, we had a placement year in our college, and we had a lot of companies that come in. And we had KPMG, we had a couple of consultancies, we had McKinsey coming in as well. And as like every regular student, I just went in for the KPMG interview. So that was the first the first job company that came in to hire for audit. So that's one of the practice of KPMG, and the other one was data science.
Okay.
And I went in, and statistics and mathematics and all of this, these courses, they sat for data science. And audit was more for BCom, and I also believe a couple of
Eco honors also.
Eco honors as well was another one that sat for audit. I think the experience was really good. We had like, I think 200 people who sat. It was like a full day in our college that they came in. They talked about, you know, what KPMG stands for. They talked about like all the different interview processes that they're going to do. So they had like a very quick knowledge. I think it was more focused on like testing your mathematics skills. That was like a quick 45-minute test, and you were asked to wait, and then they shortlisted like 100 students. And then the entire day was quite interesting because all your classmates were like fighting for like those 3 job positions that they had come for. So it was very competitive, but at the same time was definitely a good experience. And because it was the first interview that I was doing in my life, I don't think so I was well prepared, but I was very authentic in the sense I was very honest in my interviews around where I want to head, what is my, what has been my childhood, where have I come from, what do I want to pursue in future. And through those, 3 job interviews that I went for, I was one of the first people who got selected.
Wow.
And it was definitely a very
proud moment.
It was definitely a proud moment, but also you felt very proud of yourself because you were one of the first 3 students in Venki who got selected to be part of KPMG and be part of their data science practice. At the same time, it definitely taught me a lot about, you know, how does a job process really go into. And when you think about a job interview, there's so many things you want to say in those 20 minutes with in front of the person. You want to talk about, you know, what you did in your class, or like what you did in that internship, or all of those things. But at the same time, I think just being true and authentic really helped me at that time. After my statistics honors, the first job I did was as a data analyst in KPMG for almost a year, and the experience was really good. It was my first job
ever.
And in DLF Cyber Hub.
Yeah.
And
Cyber City.
And for anyone who knows, I think traffic from Delhi to Gurgaon was an absolute nightmare. But the experience was really good. I think what that job taught me was how to interact with your clients. So while you would expect the job to teach you about, you know, data science and skills to be a good data analyst, what it taught me was how do you actually communicate with your client? How do you present yourself? How do you present, a project that you work on? Those were really the skills, that grooming I needed, you know, before pursuing either my master's or pursuing my next job. So I really value the foundation that KPMG provided me to interact and manage my client, which was really good. It also taught me Excel, which is a very underrated skill, but is a very important skill, especially when you're crunching numbers. And I think it was all in all a very, very good experience. It was a very different experience for me because in my family, none of us had ever done a corporate job.
So you're in KPMG, you're in their data science division, you're the first corporate employee of your family. Everybody's anyway proud of you, I'm sure, of your journey. And then you decide, okay, I think I want to do a master's now, right? If you can just take us through that process, what made you want to do a master's, and why would you not pursue a master's, let's say, from India versus why you chose to come to LSE
100%.
abroad? Yeah,
100%. I think the first aspect, which is very important to talk about, is I didn't immediately jump from doing my BSc to do my master's, and I think that was really important because I wanted to get a flavor of whether this is something that I even want to pursue. So, you know, data science was definitely a new field back in those days. We had very few firms who had offered it. Not a lot of demand in the industry as well, right? Like, it was very new for all of us. And I wanted to see if this is something I would enjoy as a day job, which is why I didn't want to immediately rush into doing my master's. I wanted to take some time. I wanted to at least spend 1 to 2 years to do this understand what is the practical applications of my theoretical knowledge that I got from Venki and the experience that I had with BSc. So I think KPMG definitely gave me that. And then through that experience, I realized that there is so much in the field of AI that I don't know. So when I started interacting with data scientists and data science managers in KPMG, I realized that there's so many AI principles and techniques and concepts that I'm completely unfamiliar with, like the world of Python and how to code in Python, how to develop AI solutions. All of those different concepts were so different for me, which really got me to take a step back and really start reflecting into, I need to further develop my skills and pursue my masters. And the way I went about it was a very similar thing. Who has done this before? How do I find that person? That was two big ones for me. And I went to a career counselor in Delhi University, in Delhi in fact, and we also had career counselors in Delhi University.
Yeah.
So every college has a career counselor, and they can really help you in terms of what kind of jobs exist, what kind of skill sets are required. So I went to my career counselor and said, if I want to be a data scientist, which is a more specialized person to a data analyst, what kind of skills do I need? So they talked about all the different skills, and then we mapped, okay, what type of masters do I need to do? Then I did my own research, found a list of all the colleges in UK, in US that offered masters in data science, in AI, and started to look at the applications, what are the prerequisites that are required for each of these courses, and went ahead with my application.
Okay, so you decided that you needed to do a master's in data science, and that's very organized of you that you made a list of the skills that were missing. But how did you go about choosing the universities in the US and the UK? And not why did you not consider India? If you could just share that with us.
I think India back then didn't have enough master's courses.
Okay.
I mean, now they do. So a lot of the IITs as well in India. So obviously I had options for UK and US. UK is always a 1-year course, whereas US is a 2-year course. Mm-hmm. And while I didn't really have a pressure of time, I wanted to pursue UK specifically because it was a 1-year course and it was also closer to home, which growing up in India and being very close to my mother, I think that was definitely a big key factor for me, so that if I ever have to travel back to India or even the time difference wasn't much. Yeah. But one of the key elements which I know a lot of people consider between UK and US is not just the amount of the time contribution that you have to do. So you're actually contributing 2 years of your time to invest in a US degree. It's also the factor of the fees. The fees in US is a significantly lot more than what it is in the UK, which is one of the key reasons why people consider UK over US. Whereas I think reflecting back, I don't think so any of the choices would have gone wrong. I mean, US is a great place. Specifically for technology, it's really considered to be the country when you want to think about pursuing your career in technology, because majority of the tech firms have their headquarters there. So it's really like the mecca which gravitates all the software engineers and all the products managers there. But for me, the factor of keeping it to 1 year was quite crucial, which is why I considered UK. And UK has some great universities, right? It has University of Oxford, it has so many universities in London. And I really wanted to live and work in London, which was always something that really excited me when I started to think about my whole process of pursuing my master's. And I knew a lot of my family members who've previously studied in the UK, and they always had very great things to talk about. The experience in UK, the ability to meet so many people from different countries, and the fact that you all live together and work together, and the work culture here in UK is really, really good, because they always have this work-life balance, which is really key, especially when you're living away from home, that you want to work, whereas also explore UK or Europe. And the closer proximity that it has to Europe was definitely one of the key things that excited me and attracted me to pursue my master's in London.
Wow, wonderful. And I think that's very honest. a lot of the factors that you stated was similar for me as well, you know, closer to home, obviously 2 years versus 1 year, and being in like the center. I feel like London is in the center of the world and you can just travel anywhere. So yeah, that's pretty similar for us. And so let's talk about, you know, you coming here now, coming to LSE. Is there anything, actually, before we move on to that, is there anything about your application process while applying to LSE that you want to talk about? Any tips for anybody who's planning to apply for the same course or just in general for a master's at LSE?
100%. I think for me, I would actually share my experience because I think there's a lot to learn from this. I just applied to one college.
Oh wow!
So for anyone who's gone through this process or is going through this process now, there are different phases in your application. So you obviously have the process where you finalize your course, you start putting your applications, you have to create your statement of purpose, and you have to create your entire portfolio. So really talking about why do you stand out? So what have you done in the past? What kind of like projects have you done? And I had put all of this effort just for one college, which was University of Oxford.
Oh, wow.
And I did not apply anywhere else. And I was going against all of the career counselors who were coming in saying, at least put 5 applications. You're really putting yourself under, just one. What if University of Oxford does not take in? I had a great GMAT score, so I got 710 in GMAT, and it was the first time I had taken my GMAT, so I didn't take multiple attempts as well, so it was just one. And my score was good. My bachelor score was decent as well, and I had got decent marks in my 10th and 12th, and I had a good background, so I had all the recommendations from KPMG, and I was like, this is it. I mean, I should be fine for Oxford. And I didn't get in. And I got my rejection actually very, very quick. It was like they didn't even consider me, which is a different story altogether. But I got my rejection, and it was in December, which means that the first attempt for you to actually apply, so they're basically different batches. I think it's October to December is the first batch where you can apply.
And it's then different timelines, right?
So different timelines. And then the second application kind of is around
second round.
The second round is around January to March, I believe.
Yes.
So I was like, now what? Where do I apply? So then I went back to my entire process and again didn't listen to anyone and just applied for one college, that was LSE. So London School of Economics in UK was starting their first batch for masters in data science. They had never done this before, so I didn't know anyone who had done this. I couldn't speak to anyone, and when I say I speak to anyone, I mean reaching out to people on LinkedIn, because that's something I do very, very actively. So I didn't have anyone that I could reach out to. But one thing that I did was in the LSE portal, they had mentioned the course director. And the course director was an ex-Facebook director.
Oh, wow.
And I reached out to him on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I set up a one-to-one with him. And I said, this is what I'm currently doing in KPMG. This is what my background is. And in my conversations, I really wanted to understand why should I apply to LSE versus kind of thinking about will LSE take me. And I think that's really important because you just don't want to spend your 1 year to do a master's just for the sake of it. I really wanted to understand, because this is the first time LSE is pursuing a course in data science, what kind of experience will it give me? Will it provide me an internship? Will it provide me, what does the course really look like? So my conversation with him really comforted me to understand that this will be the right blend that I need when I want to think about my career in a tech company, because he came from Facebook himself. So he gave me the kind of insights into what does it really take to be into a tech company. And that conversation gave me enough information and enough confidence to go ahead and apply for LSE. And I applied and I got it very, very quick, unlike my previous experience. And and I had, then I started thinking about packing, getting ready, and
coming to London. Lovely. And that's so cool that you took matters in your own hand and, you decided whether this makes sense, because obviously if it's a new course, if the universities obviously recognize LSE is such a big brand, even in India, if you decided to go back sometime, but you took that initiative to reach out to the course director on LinkedIn. And again, I keep talking about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an absolutely free platform that everybody should be using 100%. To like for all the benefits that it has, and just take decisions for your career and talk to people like Malika did. And because it is a risk, I'm sure it was at that time, going in for a course that nobody has taught before. It's a brand new experience, new country, new city, and a new course at this university. So I'm sure that would have been a difficult decision to take, but after that conversation, you felt good. And what is life without a little bit of risk as 100%. Well, right? So that's something that's so inspiring. That's great. So you came to LSE in 2017. Okay, great. So you're here in 2017. You start your student life. How was your experience at LSE? How was it different from Delhi University?
Oh, it was a completely different ball curve. I think Delhi University was very relaxed. You studied, you didn't. You studied like 1 month before. You still got great marks. It was a lot more theoretical, which meant that past papers and 10-year papers solved and sailed your boat. And I'm being extremely honest here. I think LSE was a completely different experience. Firstly, my batch was only 13 people.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't have a huge batch size, and they were very particular about this because they really wanted to make sure that this batch got the experience you need to launch into a tech company. So they were very clear about that from day one. So there were 12 people. I was the only Indian in my class. So we had people from China, we had people from London as well, and from different parts of Europe, and few people from US that came in together for the LSE course. Our directors were supreme. We had the best faculty from the top tech companies that had previously led tech teams, had delivered and built some great tech products across Microsoft, Google, Facebook. They all came in together to build this faculty. And just kind of giving some context to everyone, LSE, which stands for London School of Economics, is very good for economics, right? As you can imagine. And within the branch of economics stands statistics. So statistics was where masters in data science fit in. So in this big umbrella of statistics, data science was like part of it. So they really made sure that this course gets the best faculty, gets the best experience. And what I really liked about my time at LSE was that we had something called a capstone project. And the idea with capstone was that every student out of those 12 students got assigned a company. So I got a job at Specsavers. It was an internship, and it was given to me by LSE. And the very idea with that internship is that I will go there with my course director, who's accompanying me on my first day. He will go and introduce me to the head of AI in Specsavers. And between my course director and the head of AI at my counterpart at Specsavers, they will agree what will my next 3 months of my job will be. So they will basically define that Malika is going to achieve X, Y, Z. This is what her project looks like. And this benefits Specsavers as well, because they get a person to work on one of their key projects. But at the same time, this gives my course director an opportunity to give me the experience of working in like a tech marketing job, and also kind of like learn on the job, which is very crucial. And the great aspect for that was, if you do well, you get the job. So not only do you complete your capstone project, but you also get the opportunity of potentially getting a full-time job after this. Fantastic. Which I think was incredible. And we had companies, you name it, and that was on board. So we had all the tech companies, we had a lot of marketing companies that had a tech division in it, and we got to choose which company do we actually want to do this capstone project was. And the first day, your course director will come with you, accompany you, explain what the project looks like, and then 3 months in, you're fully dedicated to work with that company and pursue your capstone.
That's so cool.
And at the end, which was also incredible, it was like a proud moment for LSE. So the LSE directors would come in, my Specsaver team would come in, and then we would actually present my project. So everybody would see like what I worked on for the last 3 months, and also get an opportunity to deliver it, pitch it in front of like really key stakeholders in my Specsaver company. and you get the job or you get an experience. So I think in both ways it was a great experience for me. And I think LSE provided that, not only like the blend of getting an opportunity to work for a tech company, we also had partnerships with Google back then. So we got the Google Cloud Platform, which is Google's cloud division, and we got to like really leverage hard computes of Google and build some cool projects on it. So it was a great experience. I would definitely say it was a lot of slogging, a lot of time in the library. It was probably, if I look back and if I do the amount of work I did in LSE, I will do really well in my life, because everybody was so good. Everybody was there to work really, really hard, understand all the concepts. The teachers, because it was a small batch, you got the focus.
You got the individual attention.
You got the individual attention, which often meant that you had to really be well prepared for a class. So, you had to do all your pre-readings, which is before a class, they will send you a list of things that you have to read, and you had to read it before you come for the class, else you will not understand anything. And because everyone was so good in the class, you became, the average of those people, which is great because those people were so smart. So I think just kind of surrounding yourself with,
geniuses.
The geniuses and the best talent got me to sail my boat. During my 12 months, so I interned at Gyana, which is one of the AI startups in the UK. I interned at Expedia, which is a travel company, but it's also a very strong tech company. So I did a 3 months internship there. I interned at Specsaver as well as part of my capstone project. So I think 12 months was fully packed. I didn't get any time to do anything in London, which is probably one of the reasons why I came to London. I didn't see the British Museum. I didn't get to see Trafalgar Square, even though I stayed like 5 minutes away from it. So while there were a lot of sacrifices like that, I think those 12 months definitely gave me enough experience to think about the next step in my journey of, what's next for me after my master's.
Wonderful. Wow. Sounds like a power-packed 12 months.
It was incredible.
Great. And then let's talk about getting a job, after graduation, because one of the reasons of why people want to come to the UK now, especially, is because of the 2-year post-study work permit, which wasn't the case back then. So, there was a deadline on your head to find a job quickly if you wanted to stay on in London. So when did you start applying for jobs? And, you said you were so busy with internships. And how was that process, and where did you end up working?
I think it's a joke in my family that I was on a coffee diet for 12 months, because it was not just the expectation to do really well in your master's, but at the same time, the whole pressure of getting a job. And while things have changed extensively with the 2-year visa, back in those days, if you don't get the job, which is the job visa, you will be asked to leave the country. And you had a deadline of 3 months, which was a lot of pressure, and you were competing with a lot of people to get a job. And what I mean by that is, if I needed to get a job in an organization, not only did I have to perform really well in those job interviews, I also had to make sure that can this company sponsor me a job visa, which was really, really key. And that was one of the key things that would often get a company to say no to you, because they didn't really have the permission to issue, a
work visa,
which was, I think, the tier 2, I believe, the
tier
tier 2 visa. Yes. So if you say, when did I actually start applying for jobs? I actually started applying for jobs before I moved to London.
Wow.
So I did not even start my master's, and I had started applying for every graduate program that was available, because graduate programs started around September to October were the applications to get into the next cohort, which was next year. So I started putting in all the applications. And I think it was a lot of hit and miss, because initially I didn't really know how to process and how to progress through the whole job application. So all I would do is go on their website, see a graduate role, put in the same CV, put in the same cover letter, would not customize it. And I was getting rejections through and through, which makes sense now that I know that that's not how it works. And after attending a lot of career fairs and meeting a lot of people who have jobs in tech companies, I realized that I have to change my approach. It can't be shooting 100 emails and expecting someone would respond, because that's not the way it would work. It would really depend on how do you build a relationship with someone who previously is working in a tech company who can refer you. And that referral was really, really key. So I started applying a lot. I started attending a lot of career fairs. I went into the ones that LSE had organized. There were a couple of tech companies that used to organize in London. Started meeting people who were working in tech companies. Started meeting recruiters, writing cold emails to recruiters on LinkedIn as well. And at the same time, I started building my profile on LinkedIn. And what I mean by that is, if I would work on a cool project, or if I would do something great in my startup, I would talk about that on LinkedIn. So if a recruiter tomorrow has to hire me, he or she would go on my LinkedIn profile and they would say, yeah, she knows her stuff. She's talking about data science. She's done all of these cool projects. She's done her master's and she's currently doing her master's. And I think that kind of stood more than just shooting emails or just blindly applying for job interviews, because that didn't work. And through the entire process, I think in April, I got my acceptance from KPMG as a data scientist, and I got an acceptance from Expedia as well to join as a data scientist as well. And because I had already worked in KPMG before, and I knew a couple of people in the UK, and my partner as well. So partner within the KPMG spectrum is a very senior position in any of these consultancies. And I had worked with this partner in my times in KPMG India as well. Wow. So I had those relationships that I maintained when I moved to UK. And just understanding all the projects that KPMG was doing around data science got me to accept my role in KPMG in the UK.
The relationship management bit that you're saying is super important, keeping in touch with your colleagues even after you leave the organization. And the second thing you said about LinkedIn, I think it's so important to be a little visible, to build your credibility, and especially if you don't have a job, because that's the time when you want to pop up on recruiters' home feed. Exactly. And that's how you'll pop up, because if you don't talk about yourself, who will? And I think a lot of us get shy, feel shy to do that, and why not be a little bit more adventurous and put yourself out there and see what could 100%. You lose, right?
I think the biggest advocate for anyone is yourself. And if you're not going to talk about all the projects that you're working on, talking about all the failures, and I think that's really important, because LinkedIn is not just about talking, I started my job at XYZ company, or talking about I got this award, or look at the cool projects I'm working on. I talked about some of the failures that I've had, when I was thinking about a specific project, and sharing that and sharing my learnings from it. I think just making sure that LinkedIn is that profile for you, which is not just about the great things you're doing in your company, or like great things you're doing in your things, also talking about your experiences as you are progressing in your professional growth. I think that's really key. And just think about the recruiter. Like, a recruiter gets 1,000 such emails. What are you doing that gets you to stand apart from everyone else and gets you to remember? Because everyone has a very short memory now. So what can you do that gets that? How do you make their life easier? What kind of roles and what kind of profile are they looking for? And you can easily gauge that by the way they are advertising a role, or the kind of the kind of terms they're using in a role. I think that's really key. And if you can do that kind of research and reach out to a person with a personalized email, by making sure that you can really stand out with those, those qualities they're looking for, that really gets you to, stand out and potentially get your dream job as well.
How nice. And so important to do that. So you got a job at KPMG and you started working on a tier 2 visa here in the UK. Let's talk a little bit about what exactly is data science, because a lot of us don't really know. If you could just explain it in layman terms of what you did. What did you learn? How did you apply the knowledge that you'd already gained? And just how was your experience working for the first time in the UK?
Perfect. So if you have an Excel sheet and you have all the data, like all the different rows and columns, and you have all the numbers, think of that, but multiply it to 20,000x.
My God.
That is a lot of data, right? So if you have to really get insights from all of that data, and this data is expanding now, right? This is really growing. You need different tools and techniques and like methodologies to understand and get insights from this data. Like for example, if I want to understand, how much money I'm spending in the last 10 months versus how much can I spend in the next 10 months. So I'm looking at my past data and I'm predicting or I'm forecasting the next 10 months for me. That's the kind of insights that data science provides you. So data science as a discipline is very close to artificial intelligence, but the very idea of data science is to get insights from your data, and this data could be any type, could be in an Excel, could be like PDF documents, could be the voice. So the conversation we are having, we can actually use this data to get more insights into probably the channel that you're running, or the my previous experiences as a KPMG employee, etc. So data can be anything, but using tools and techniques to get insights out of that is what data science really means.
Wonderful. So it basically helps you in decision making then.
Exactly.
So you would do that for clients.
So I would do that for clients. So I had in KPMG, I was on a very long project for one of the banking customers in UK, based out of Scotland, in fact. And my key job was to understand their problems. So they had multiple problems within their banking division, and spend time with their teams to understand, okay, how are they solving it today? And then I would use AI, machine learning, data science to build tools and capabilities to solve that for them. And that could be something as simple as building a chatbot to building some really strong OCR, which is an object character recognition technology, like it's a AI solution to solve that problem for them. So it could be a simple use case, it could be a very complicated use case as well, but no use case begins without actually understanding the problem, understanding the status quo. So I would spend a lot of time with my clients to understand what is their key problem, what kind of data do they have, how are they solving it today, what does that methodology look like, and then propose them with a solution that can solve that for them. And when I say solve means that can I do it faster? Can I do it better? Can I do it better than what a potential human would do in probably 7 hours? How can I reduce that to 3 hours or 4 hours? I think those were the kind of like use cases that I was getting in KPMG, and it was a great experience for me. I remember I worked really hard and I got my first promotion as well in the first 9 months of being at KPMG, which I've often been told is very, very hard, especially when you're expected to like spend some time in a role. But I was very driven. I took every opportunity that I got. I interacted and networked with a lot of people, not just in my team, but also externally outside my team, to really think about how are they using data science, how are they using AI solutions. I would often go and pitch the stuff that I've done for my client and talk to other people and talk to other clients. So be like, how can we replicate a similar success story with that client? So really reusing and building some templates so that we can scale this to other clients. And I think all of that comes by networking. So I think the learning that I would give to anyone who's thinking about starting their careers is don't shy away from networking. Push yourself, prepare that networking pitch, prepare your pitch around how will I introduce myself, how will I talk about what I've done in the past, and don't be afraid, because what are you here to lose? You'll probably just not get the reaction you want, but if you do, that really helps you to build your reputation. Because the other thing that I learned at KPMG and one of my mentors taught me was that you will not be in every room, right? There are going to be so many rooms that you'll not be a part of, but your reputation will travel before you've entered a room. So people are going to talk about you before you've even entered the room. So make sure you build that reputation for yourself. And that will not only happen through, doing a great job, but also advocating that, sharing it, talking about all the mistakes you made, and sharing that with other people so that they don't make the mistakes when they have a similar problem.
Wow, that's such a great jump start to your career in the UK. And after that, after working at KPMG, you managed to work also at two really big tech giants, one of them being Microsoft and the other now Google. what is the secret to your success, and how do you think somebody who's just starting their career in tech, how can they navigate this industry?
I think that's a great question. I think the only secret to success, as you would say, I think I would just classify it into two things. A is to network. That is a big one. And what I mean by that is, obviously talking about the work you're doing, but also being very clear about what's next for me. And that next will not happen by you working in a siloed room and navigating that yourself. I spoke to a lot of people in the tech companies, in Microsoft, in Google, in Amazon, interacted with them to really understand what does the future look like from what I'm doing today to where I can be. So that was definitely a key one. The other one was to not shy away from taking projects which will make you feel very uncomfortable. That's really key, because that is only when you're going to push yourself to do something that you never imagined you could do. I remember getting into Microsoft was a big step up for me. Being in a tech company, in a company like Microsoft, where they always hire the best talent, you have to go through whole rounds of interviews, and you have to go through multiple, case studies, technical pitches. You have to upskill yourself. You have to do so many courses and so many certifications. Like, we have different technical certifications for machine learning, for AI, for software developer. And I remember preparing for all of them and being very overwhelmed, but just having that rhythm and being focused and making sure that I would always upskill myself. That was really key. And I think the key to success in tech company is to have a growth mindset and not have a fixed mindset. And the reason why it's important is, in a tech company, skills are always going to change. Like, we always thought about software developers, coding, AI, now, generative AI that's coming in, large language models that are coming in with ChatGPT, with Bard and other capabilities. Technology is moving so fast. And if you want to move fast with the technology and stay up to date, you always have to invest in yourself. So when you plan your travel in a year, make sure you plan your courses in a year. What kind of courses you're going to spend? How many courses are you doing on Coursera or Udemy, and how are you investing in that? How are you participating in hackathons and boot camp? That's really key, because that will get you to stay up to date with technology. And I always did that. I think that is what I did in Microsoft and even in Google as well. Spent a lot of time doing certifications, picking up projects that I said yes to and I had no idea how to do it, but went ahead and found people who have done this in the past, got all of that learning, and followed the path through. So investing in yourself and networking are like two key considerations when you want to be successful in a tech company.
Wonderful. That's great. Such an inspiring journey, Malika. And because of this, all that you've done, the amount you've hustled, the amount you've networked, and you said you did a lot of practical experience, upskilling yourself non-stop, is why you got the award. That was one of the most influential women in tech. That's not an easy feat. I would just want to ask you one question. What is it that gets you out of bed every day, and what is it that you love about what you do?
I think that's a great question. And I think for me, when I was thinking about my career in technology specifically, my motivation back then is very different from my motivation now. Back then, I didn't have enough role models, like especially female role models in tech. And I'm sure most of us who are thinking about getting into a technical roles, this is going to be a very common theme, which is you'll not have enough women in tech. And that is definitely an area where a lot of us are spending time to change that status quo, but it's going to be a very slow progress. Growing up, I never thought I wanted to be an engineer, not because I felt I couldn't be an engineer, was just because I never saw many women who were engineers. And I always felt that was something that was for, boys and like for male. And when I was getting into my technology, in my tech industry, there were so many times I would get into a room and I would be the only female. And for me, I think the thing that excites me the most about being in tech industry now is how can I inspire more women and more girls to pursue a career in tech. Because it's not just a great industry to be in, but it's also a very well-paying job. And often women don't consider a career in tech because they feel that this is not something which I can do because I don't see many people doing it. So I want to kind of break that myth. I want to make sure that I can share my journey and I can provide that path for many other girls and women to pursue a career in technology, because it's definitely the area where all the different industries are heading. Whether you're a consumer or you want to get into content creating, I'm sure you spend so much time reading that data, seeing what your subscribers like, etc. So I think really take that time to consider a career in technology was definitely that got me excited. I spent a lot of time with people, and especially girls I've mentored, who now have really successful jobs in technology, and that excites me. So opening the doors for other people, and especially people from India and from different parts and different backgrounds who can be successful in technology, and sharing my journey and providing them that path is what excites me.
How nice, and that's so nice that you're giving back to this industry in some way and motivating young girls especially to pursue a career in this field. That's fantastic, and I'm sure a lot of young girls and young boys watching this right now would be very, very motivated and inspired. And since we're on MSB Vision's channel, and I'm sure a lot of young boys and girls would want to know, like, what is your vision for your future, and what could be your future plans, and what do you aspire to be working towards now, your next chapter?
So I'm currently working at a tech company in London. And while the job and the opportunity is very challenging, I want to continue to challenge myself and continue to grow in this rhythm, especially understanding some of the key challenges with my clients and leveraging AI and technology in general to solve those problems. But the other aspect is to also give back. So really focusing extensively around the mentoring opportunities that I get in my current role, but even outside, and sharing and giving back and sharing all my learnings, the mistakes, the failures and success, so I can really help other women and other people to get into a very similar rhythm and launch their careers and be successful in tech companies.
How nice, and that's a wonderful way to end the interview. Thank you so much, Malika, for coming on today. I've had such a great time learning from you, and I'm sure this is going to be very useful. I will link down below how you can get in touch with Malika, so that if you have any questions, you can reach out to her directly. But if you want to ask anything in the comments, please do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for all the great stuff you do with your platform and sharing all the learnings. I wish I had that when I was starting, especially the whole interview preparation. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Thank
you so
you.
much. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like and share this video with your friends if you find this useful. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week with another insightful video to help you accelerate your career. Until then, bye-bye.